Welcome, welcome, welcome to another full moon episode with Erik and me. We're so excited to be here. And this time we're looking at the Scorpio full moon happening on May 12th of 2025. And the Scorpio, we could say mantra is I will, my will be divine will. And we're going to look at more about why that is as we go.
Yeah, thank you for I'm excited about this particular full moon. So looking forward to rolling forward here.
So, one of the things to know about Scorpio is it's an archetypal energy that is focused on experiencing and, more importantly, feeling the full range of life force energy as a path to feeling fully alive in ways that cultivate orgasmic bliss. So, as a Scorpio rising, I love this. And this Scorpio full moon will be the moon will be on my ascendant and the sun will be on my descendant, close enough, within a few degrees. And so this is the time to enliven that energy. And the Scorpio really recognizes that desire is what is fueling creation, or it's the gift of creation. Without desire, we wouldn't have this creation. And oftentimes we're told that desire is the problem. Desire is not the problem, it's our attachment to desire that's the problem. So without desire, this reality wouldn't exist. So if we can move past our attachment to the desire, like we have a desire, we'd like to see something manifest in our reality, and then we let go of how it looks and just really be welcoming to whatever the energy is and what's bringing through, because oftentimes it's more amazing than what we thought of originally. So desire is the necessary activation for any manifestation to find a form in this reality. And so becoming a desire becoming manifest when there's enough passionate life force energy to fuel it. If you aren't feeling it, then it's not likely to manifest. So if you're kind of like, oh, I'd really like to do this, but then you don't have that sense of like, oh my God, that's all I can think about. And every time I think about it, my energy lights up and I'm so excited. And then you're probably more likely to manifest whatever that energy, whatever's in that for you, especially around the Scorpio time. And so this is about the right use of will, or aligning your will with divine will. And so sometimes the shadow side of Scorpio can be, I will, this is going to happen. I want this to happen. I'm determined this has happened, but leaving the larger picture out of how, okay, my will aligned with divine will, and then your whatever it is you're manifesting will come forth in the best way possible. So, this allows for a flow of infinite life force energy through you into your desired manifestation, especially when your desire is aligned with divine will. So, I will, my will be divine will. That's why we're looking at it from this perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Cayelin. Yeah, this is Scorpio is the most passionate, if you will, sign in the zodiac, and so it's all about working with that strong life force energy, as Cayelin has pointed out here, and the healthy exploration and of willpower and the magic that comes along with that.
High magic and manifestation.
Yes,
We could also say a mantra for Scorpio is magic and manifestation.
indeed. All right, so keys to healthy Scorpio, knowing and trusting that there is an infinite amount of life force energy in the universe to assist in manifesting desires that do no harm to others. But also, like, because Scorpio can tap into the life force of other people as well, it's not that can be more of a finite type of thing, but knowing that you can tap into the universal source itself, that you don't necessarily need to, on a shadow end to draw in the energy of others, like maybe like a energetic vampiric energy like that, where you're drawing in and like, oh no, I want their energy, I want their energy, where in reality you can just have the energy that's available at all times right there. Um, noticing what feels most alive, passionate, and exciting, knowing how your personal energy lights up as you shared earlier, Cayelin, when thinking about creative projects, work projects, and any type of projects. And then consider if you are willing to surrender your attachment to how your desires manifest. So it's essentially letting go. It's like putting it out to the universe and then letting go to how it comes into form. And then are you willing to trust the energetic process? That's a big one.
Couple of things come to mind. One is I think it's in the Buddhist perspective that they say desire is the cause of suffering. It's not desire that is the cause of suffering, it's attachment to our desire that is the cause of if it's like if it's not manifesting in the way that we have envisioned, that's what's the cause of suffering. And then
Yep.
yeah, and the other thought is that I liked what you were saying about that we if we can tap into that universal life force energy. And in past times, there may have been like wizards duels. I was having the image of the Disney's movie Sword in the Stone, and Madame Mim and Merlin have this duel, and they're fighting with their life force energy and trying to conquer or whatever to get the other one to do what they want. And that's the shadow side of Scorpio. It's when, it's like having access to this powerful energy when we know how to access it, but for the purpose of um, allowing for manifestation to happen in alignment with divine will, ultimately. So, and then trusting that process, trusting that that what is manifesting is for the highest and best and most beneficial and most supportive.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So edge walking, one of my favorite ways of thinking about Scorpio is that it's walking the edges. And there's a saying I'm trying to think of. It's like if you don't if you're on the edge or you're not on the edge, I don't know. For some reason, it's not coming to me right now. But it's like going beyond the edges of what it is that we've known. So this is inviting us to consciously walk the edges of what is dying and what is birthing with opportunities for willfully, purposefully creating a new paradigm, ecstatically aligned with divine will and divine love. And if we think about it, we're living in a world that is, in a sense, it seems to be breaking down. The old forms and everything that we've thought was true maybe isn't true. And that has to happen in order for us to get to that more ecstatic place. So this is the opportunity. I think this full moon is putting a spotlight on that for us and helping us to do that. So there's no one way to do this that is better than any other. However, the process is more gracefully facilitated when we embrace what is unfolding while releasing any attachments to specific results. And many of us will experience varying degrees of fear around the edges of what is changing. That's often what, it's like you lose your job or a relationship ends or something's happening, and then there can be fear because we don't know what's next and we don't know how it's going to manifest and we don't know what it's going to look like. So, so although many may try to avoid these new and unfamiliar edges, the changes are already in motion, and new edges like new frontiers are emerging. And high magic is always present when we're open to see it. So this is how the light of the sun and the full moon is amplifying the evolutionary energy of the earth. And here, I love this photo. I was in Teotihuacan back in 2015, and one of the people that was with us got this beam of light coming straight down into the pyramid. And it's just so amazing. So it's like, oh, so that, this light entering the pyramid, we can imagine this light is entering us. That life force, that energy, that light is illuminating us at the time of the Scorpio full moon.
That is an incredible shot. It's remarkable the energy that's coming in, or maybe it's both ways. Maybe
Yeah.
there's something going and leaving the top of the pyramid too. Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, here's an image of the Scales constellation because this is where the full moon takes place, and it's right on your ascendant there, Cayelin, or within a few degrees anyway.
Close, close.
So yeah, these stars, Zubin el-Shamali, Zubin el-Janubi, they represent the scales themselves. So they're most easily visible in the sky from December to September. So we're in a time frame right now, being here at the end of April, going into May of 2025, where these scales are really prominent later in the evening. Um, not exactly, well, at the time of the full moon, they're going to be rising with as the sun's setting, but later in the evening, you'll be able to really make out the stars more clearly, especially after the full moon. So the full moon rises with the scales, and especially alignment with Zubin el-Shamali. And though the bright moon will likely dim the stars, as I shared before, it is worth definitely seeing if you have clear skies. And so the red lines that are here, they represent the estimate of the nakshatra, which we're going to talk about as well as we do with every full moon, where this full moon is occurring. So there's the lines of the nakshatra, and we're gonna take a look at what that means and having the full moon take place in this particular constellation and in this nakshatra as well.
Beautiful. I just, it's so good, so good. So if you can go out and see the moonrise, and we'll put a link in the show notes that so you can get the time for in your location of what time the moon will rise. Now, I use that,
Hmm.
and I have mountains in my east, so it often rises 20 to 30 minutes after the time it says it's going to rise. So you don't, it's not always precise, depends on your horizon line, but it's a way to get a close estimate. So we'll make sure you have access to that.
Very good.
So
Caitlin?
this is the chart for the full moon, the moon at 22 Scorpio, and the sun at 22 Taurus, very close to Uranus and Hygeia that are conjunct exact. Oh my gosh, so it's so amazing. They're conjunct exact at
Hmm.
26:59 Taurus. So that's another additional energy that we can add into this. So Hygeia having to do with healing and Uranus having to do with unexpected events that take us in new directions. So that's a very big aspect of this. And sometimes I think about when Uranus is involved, it's like it creates the opportunity for a big leap. Um, Sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's not expected, but often, the intent is that it's a leap in consciousness, a leap in perspective, a leap in how we're seeing things and experiencing things. So that's a very big possibility for this full moon.
Yeah, and it's something actually the next frame, I think that's when I have my slide where I add some things to what you've already done here. But you can see here's just another reference of the scales on the right hand side here, and you know that it rises up here at 9:55 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and Mountain Standard Time for Arizona
For Arizona,
on
but we never go off standard time.
that's right. So that's the time of the full moon precisely. So yeah, and you'll notice like there's a lot of things happening in this chart. So I'll point out in the next slide about that. But yeah, thank you for bringing up the Uranus Hygeia
Yeah,
conjunction
one
there. That's pretty
with
remarkable.
Sedna, of course, right next to them both also. So that
Yes.
they're all players in this. But just another thing to say is that then on May 11th, the night of May 11th, the moon will be rising still waxing towards full. And the night of May 12th, it will have already been full. So it's starting May, and you won't notice it. Honestly, you won't see that, but it won't be
Right.
moving towards full on the night of the 12th. It'll be moving towards full on the night of the 11th. So just something for you to be aware of and to see it both nights. And there's maybe depending, I forget what time of year it is. It's either 20 minutes or 45 minutes between moon rises. So, so again, we'll put the link in so you can figure out what those are for those two nights.
Yeah, sometimes it's close to almost an hour
Yeah.
um difference. but but then some other times it's not that much of a difference, like that you mentioned, 20 minutes. Um, yeah. Uh, it just and the moon is going to look very close to the same amount of light that's coming from it, but on both May 11th and May 12th.
Mhm.
So just to kind of keep that awareness going, um, that if you only get to see it on one of the two nights, that it's going to look really, really, really similar. There's visually speaking, experientially, you're experiencing very similar energy coming through, although the moon will have moved along the little bit extra and into the against the sky on the constellations there.
In Hawaii, they consider the moon to be full for 4 nights. So we could add the 10th and the 13th. And so then from the
Yes.
10th to the 13th is that they see the moon as full all 4 nights. Um, so just it's just something to be aware of and to tune into. But ideally, hopefully, one of those nights is clear for you and you can go out and see the moon rise.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So here's something that I like to in recent times I've been trying to connect uh the dots a little bit about when there are, some important events that take place, and if there were like other important events astrologically that took place very similar degrees to where the full moon goes. So you can see here just in general, and it's referenced in this one too. You can see on the chart that there's this sextile between where the sun is and the Uranus Hygeia conjunction to Saturn and Ceres and the North Node, and then there's that naturally trines the full moon in Juno. So it's pointed out right here, where it is in this chart here. So yeah, Uranus is definitely a big part of this with Hygeia, and it's their exact conjunction. So surprises are definitely going to be in the offing, if you will, in this particular full moon. But last year, on April 20th, 2024, there was a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction really, really close to where the sun is positioned and opposite where the moon is. So that adds to that flavor that maybe there is something else underneath this that is being tapped into that was taking place in there at that time of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction period in April of 2024. So something to just
Seated
note
at
and
that
take.
time.
What's that?
Something was seated at that time between you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't mean to.
yeah, exactly. So something to kind of reference and connect into and reflect on what was going on at that time to coming up on this being where the sun moon opposition, the full moon itself is, tapping into that energy. And of course, Uranus hasn't moved all that far since last year. Only looks like five-ish degrees since that point. So yeah, it's still in the neighborhood. There's still some additional layers that are being opened up unexpectedly by the planet Uranus.
It's interesting too that Juno is with the moon, because Juno has to do with relationship. And
Yes.
and and Scorpio isn't, I mean, it loves relationship if it's passionate and alive and fun. But perhaps one of the challenges could be on the dark side of Scorpio. It could if it's trying to be too controlling, then relationships aren't going to probably last. So maybe Juno's there to help assist Scorpio in having a way of having more conscious, co-creative, collaborative kinds of ways of relating
Mm.
to each other and to the earth.
Yes. Yeah. And how that can, maybe more easily flow into the North Node's destiny point. Now, obviously, the South Node is always pulled into there. The Sun will and Uranus and Hygeia trine this as well. So there is some like karmic energy that's flowing from the past into the future That's we can say it's transmissions, correspondence that is happening there, and relationship, partnership may definitely be a part of this with Juno coming in, and then Hygeia representing some wellness, some health. Maybe there is some breakthroughs that we experience around that, in especially with Taurus energy being on the physical level here, coming into our lives. And what's fascinating, of course, is we're coming up on a Saturn-Neptune conjunction period. I tend to liken the conjunction period having already started back in 2024, using, if we're looking at Richard Tarnas's guidelines, because so much was happening at that time in 2024 between June and July, where they got Saturn and Neptune got within 11 degrees of each other. But this time they're getting within a quarter of a degree in 2025, and then they perfect or have their actual conjunction in February of 2026. So there's something about the full moon that might be also commenting on what this Saturn Neptune conjunction may be about.
Love that. And yeah, because Saturn, what's the new form we want to bring in? Neptune is the formless, and how is it coming into form as it connects with Saturn? And of course, Saturn goes into Aries on the 24th of May, just 12 days after the exact full moon. It goes into
Yes.
Aries the first time in almost 30 years. So, uh, yeah, and then it'll be catching up to Neptune, and they're dancing so close together this whole year and into next year, where they make that exact
Mm.
conjunction at zero Aries, by the way, which is rare for them to do that.
Yes, very rare. Um, all right. Oops. I just went too far there. Okay. Sabian symbol. Yeah, so I like to, especially with moons, but also other important things too. But I like to explore the Sabian symbol of the new moons and the full moons. And this one is I'm using Linda Hill's book, but she's was strongly influenced by Mark Edmund Jones and another person from the early 20th century, and then also Dane Rudyard too, in uh, her inspiration for the Sabian symbols themselves. So her book, The Sabian Oracle, she writes that 23 Scorpio, we always add 1 point to that degree of the full moon, which is at 2212 Scorpio. It's a rabbit metamorphosis into a nature spirit. And so this is about the revelation of hidden talents. She's got vegetarianism. I guess it's just because that's associated with the actual rabbit's biological, um, uh, food that it eats. Changing one's lifestyle completely, rapid and total transformation. There's just a lot of scorpionic themes, transformation, um, ascension of consciousness, elementals, evolution, moving to a new level of being. Like this is kind of a higher state, raising one's vibration, psychic attunement. And one interpretation that can be shared is that this might be expressed as a significant weight that's lifted to a state of lightness or purity of light. It is about going beyond the primal state to explore new kinds of bliss in the world of spirits. And it is also about balance and the lightening of the heart, letting go of the guilt and the bonds that keep us limited. And there's some slides you've got, Cayelin, that reference the scales and the heart and the feather. Uh, so, so here's an image of a rabbit uh, transcending into light, or lack of a better description here. So
I love it.
I
It's a
put,
beautiful
I,
image. I think like that, it looks like it's in the cocoon of light. Um,
yes,
I love that. And then
a
also just
cute bunny rabbit there.
right. For those who might not know, the Sabian symbols were something that Dane Rajar, I think, wrote a book about way back in the day. And he and was it his wife or his partner or somebody, just tuned into each of the degrees of the seasonal signs. And they came up with these images. And here's the thing to keep in mind is that anything we focus our attention on will become manifest. if we focus our attention there. So at this full
Yes.
moon, what a great imagery to focus our attention on. I love it.
Yes.
So good. Yeah.
It was Mark Edmund Jones and his wife, his partner. I can't remember her name. I'd have to go and look it up. But and then Dane Bajar had a lot of like he was strongly influenced by that, and he had correspondence because they were alive at the same time, and they they talked, and so Dane eventually wrote his own version. But again, this is like doesn't matter that you're like, oh, I got to use this version or that version. Well, find one that you can tune into that fits what you might want to communicate and connect with. But if you want to go to the origin of it and find the source and see how it evolves, that could be a way to go about that. And but there are all of them that publish these, Rajard, Mark Emmett Jones and his partner, and here Linda Hill. They're all well versed and did their research and very powerfully tuned into the not just the saving symbols but astrological knowledge as well and wisdom and so yeah it's fun to connect and have that every degree in the zodiac has a Sabian symbol with it.
I love that somebody took the time to do that too, because it gives us another way to tune in and to connect with the energy. And I will just say that when Peter and I got married back in 2006, we looked for the exact time of what we wanted the rising sign to be and the Sabian symbol that was going to really
Mm.
represent what we wanted the energy to be present for. So there's lots of ways you can work with this, like definitely tuning into the Sabian symbol for any planetary something, full moon, new moon, conjunctions, whatever's going on. But definitely, if you want to create uh, like looking at a chart of like when to do something, you can also use that information for that.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
And it must
And
have
you can
worked.
use
Married 18 and a half years now. And it's better than ever. Like it just gets better all the time. So just saying.
there you go. Yeah.
There
And you can use the Sabian symbols for other things like a Venus Mars conjunction or the moon's position in a different way. It doesn't have to be a full or new moon. There's a wide variety of things that if you're trying to tune into something so specific, you could work it in that helps you communicate to what your intention is.
I love it.
All right, so all right, so Caitlin,
So
go for
nakshatra,
it.
we've been sharing this, but if you haven't seen this before, this is just for the people that might not know. And what you see on the outer ring here are the constellations and their alternate names. And so instead of Sagittarius at the top, it says the Archer. Instead of the Scorpio, it says the Scorpion. Instead of Libra, it says the Scale. So it's that alternate name because, of course, the seasonal signs are related to the equinoxes and solstices, and they're not in the same alignment with these constellations any longer because they're not the same thing. Now, in Vedic astrology, they look at what they call lunar mansions and how far the moon moves over a 24-hour period. And they divided the sky into 27 nakshatras, and that's based on the movement of the moon over 24 hours. And interesting to know that the moon comes back to a starting place. So say it's with the star Zubin al-Janubi or Zubin al-Jamali, 27.3 days later, it's back with that star again. And so that 27 makes sense from that perspective. And they each of these nakshatras have very distinct characteristics, special talents, and has a particular Vedic deity that is it says ruled by the power, but we could say maybe is the essence of that, getting away from ruling the patriarchy hierarchy of how we say things that is uh, influenced or carries the energy of these deities. There we go.
There you go. Yes. All right. So yeah, you go for it.
So here we have the moon in this nakshatra called Vishaka or Vishaka. And so you've seen the image before, but basically this nakshatra covers they cover about um, 12 to 13 degrees of the zodiac. And so from about 14 Scorpio to 27 Scorpio. So if you have planets, angles, nodes within those degrees, then you have a connection to this nakshatra. And the symbols for this nakshatra are the trident or archway, and you can see the symbol in the corner here. It kind of looks like a trident or an archway, either one. And it's known as the star of purpose. The gods are Indra, chief of the gods, and Agni, the god of fire. And the nakshatra is associated with a strong sense of purpose and a desire to leave a lasting impact. So it has the power to achieve many things when connecting personal will with the will of the divine. So we come back to that again. It's like our will aligned with divine will, related to the concept of single-minded fixation on a goal, including the painful sacrifice required to meet that goal. It is the incomplete desiring completion. And now we come back and use the word desire. So if there's that sense of being incomplete, and then how do we create a desire for completion and then allow that to manifest in whatever way it is divinely being orchestrated?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So you can see the strong relationship between this nakshatra and Scorpio here, especially with regards to desire and really fulfilling a particular desire and or will with that, being able to, as this shows, sacrificing whatever it takes to get there.
And,
Caitlin, I like the uh, what you've got up here with the box and the Grand Cross. So it's loose, but it's related to the four signs of self-exploration here. So
yes, yes,
um, really powerful.
yes. Yeah, so Pallas Athena in Aquarius, Mars in Leo, Moon in Scorpio with Juno, and Sun in Taurus with Uranus and Hygeia. It's yeah, it's like a Mars is probably the one that's the furthest outside of that Grand Cross. Everything else seems to be pretty close. So the T square for sure is a work there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but we can include Mars in that. That's a little wide, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So the astrologer Roger Kidston, the way he wrote about the stars, and one of the things he said is that Zubin el-Shamali, that's around 22 Scorpio. I forgot the exact degree. I think we have it somewhere. We'll have it somewhere. But anyway, it's a very fortunate star, and it bestows worldly honor and success. So when everything is balanced, dues paid, just rewards follow. I love that. Keep it real and true for joyful good fortune. So this is another energy that we can tune into because the moon is so aligned with this star at the full moon.
Mm. Yeah, indeed. Um, yeah, so we're going to talk about the guardian of the scale. So Anubis, the god, one of the gods in the underworld, um, was an Egyptian dark lord of the abyss, considered the guardian of the scales. So weighing the heart of the dead was how they determined where the deceased would go. And if the heart was as light as the feather of Mot, uh, the uh, the person would move, the deity Mot, the person would move to the afterlife. And if the heart was heavier, they would again have to reincarnate and try again in the third dimensional reality. There was a really cool, though not like it was definitely they took creative liberties in it, but there was a series on called Moon Knight, and it was even shown, I think, in the series American Gods as well, um, where there was a moment there where the Moon Knight was visiting, was in the afterlife, and he had to go, they showed the scales and they had to look at the scales and, go through that whole process there. And so, it was a really powerful something. They looked at this constellation as the literal, is like you could see it there. And so when you passed on to the next, going on beyond this life, you'd have to go through that particular part of the sky in order to, to weigh your heart.
I love too that they have the image of the feather like standing up on the one scale and the heart
Oh,
standing up on the other scale. And in this
yes.
imagery, they seem balanced. Uh, but how the Egyptians saw these stars in the sky as the scale, and they're weighing, whatever they were weighing. But for sure, they have this story about how they would weigh the heart of the dead with the feather of Ma'at, who is the goddess of truth and something else. So yeah, pretty cool.
All right. You want to share about this?
So we talked about this in the last the because the Libra full moon last month was connected to the scale. Well, actually connected to Spica, and that's where the priestess is holding the scales. We can see in the tarot card here, she's holding the scales, and then so Spica represents where she holds the scales, and then the scales, the balance of Zubin al-Janubi and Zubin al-Shamali. And so these two constellations are related together from that perspective.
Mhm.
And the scale symbolizes justice, truth. The sword symbolizes truth. The sword and the scales together symbolize justice and truth. Something that we need more of in our world today, just saying. The justice card has
Mhm.
long symbolized fair and just decisions and the sort of truth that cuts through the illusions of any situation. So, karmic justice, legal matters, cause and effect, all actions have consequences. And so, how have your actions helped to define who you are now? Are legal matters being resolved in a fair and balanced manner, if you have any going on? Um, are you concerned with truth, honesty, and integrity? And so basically, this card is pointing to the weighing of all options and finding the balance that is right for you. Because what's right for me might not be right for you. But where that feels like it's in integrity, it's in that place of justice and truth. And so, what is true when this is also true when planets are in the constellation of the scales. So we have the moon, this full moon, in the constellation of the scales.
Yeah, this is really, really powerful, and yeah, we definitely talked about it in the last full moon. But it's important to recognize it with the that moon being in the scales constellation now, and maybe this is like it's adding to like all these layers that we're revealing. It adds to the dynamic of and the expression of this particular full moon. So when you're looking and connecting into the full moon, you can also um, reference what we've shared here and other things that might be coming in for you as well, especially on a personal level. That is, if you're maybe ceremonializing the full moon, connecting with it through meditation, other things, this is a chance to kind of bring all of that together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, here's the scales constellation. So we can see the different degrees and that the star Brachium and Zubin el-Shamali are the ones that are closest to the full moon here. But there are all of these are part of the scales constellation, so it's all related there. So the scales represent the law of the land and what is right within the law and what happens when these laws are broken. This is referring to the cosmic law as not all man-made laws are just. So many man-made laws are serving the ruling elite, as we find out year after year after year on this planet. And Australia, the goddess, she's associated with the constellation of the priestess, which is the constellation that is earlier in the zodiac. So she's the one that we talked about in the last full moon video. She left Earth because humans were no longer operating from a place of true justice. So I can understand that motivation there for Australia. Anything, Caitlin?
I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
All
love
right.
how the moon is right in there with all of that. I mean, it's not far from any of those stars really, but
That's
closest as you
true.
said. Yeah. Really close to Brachium and somewhat close to Zubin al-Shamali. And if we think of Zubin al-Shamali and Zubin al-Janubi being the balance of the scales, then this whole full moon is really about looking at, are we balanced? Are we within our balanced within? And we
Hmm.
definitely are seeing that the world outside of us is imbalanced. So how can we come into greater balance within ourselves so that maybe perhaps we'll see that reflected in our outer reality?
Yeah, very much.
So Zubin al-Janubi and Zubin al-Shamali mark a place between, or a between place. And Zubin al-Janubi, as you can see, the green line coming through the star map is the path of the sun. And you see the sun that around November 7th of every year is with this star currently and will be for many years probably to come. But right at the cross quarter, the November cross quarter, what the exact cross quarter point. And so, if we think about this between place, this is where magic and alchemy are the strongest. And so this full moon with especially with Zubin al-Shamali, more aligned with Zubin al-Shamali, but that it there's this opportunity to have greater alchemy and magic as part of our intention to be amplified and illuminated during the full moon. Now, the thing that's fascinating is that uh, Zubin al-Janubi, and actually you could conclude Zubin al-Shamali, are between Antares and and Spica was where the last full moon was. And then Antares will probably be where a full moon it will be somewhat close. He'll be past Spica by past Antares by the next full moon. But anyway, it sits between them, and it's also between the September equinox and the December solstice at that 15-degree mark. So 0 Libra to 15 Scorpio to 0 Capricorn, marking equinox solstice, and then that halfway point, the cross quarter point. And in addition to that, we're also in the between of a galactic year, the ending and beginning of a whole entire 26,000 year cycle. So this full moon is really spotlighting this very powerful alchemical moment or possibility that we can tap into where it's not this, it's not that, it's between, it's in that space where anything and everything can happen.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the next full moon is near the tail of the Scorpion, but it'll be, I think, roughly 10 degrees of
Yeah, I
Antares,
think it will be. Yeah.
where this red star is here on the screen. So this is a great illustration of like, why in fact, these points, like the cross, what you're called the
Yeah.
cross quartering the the solstices and the equinoxes there were many cultures celebrated and connected to those points in between the major seasonal dates of equinoxes and solstices. So having the full moon near one of these points, I think, is pretty important for humanity.
Yeah, I agree. So good.
All right, so yeah, more about Zubin al-Janubi and Zubin al-Shamali. Is it a portal or a stargate? I mean, these stars seem to be a stargate to other realms and dimensions where life is more easily experienced as balanced and loving, where deep self-love and acceptance are bringing forth new concepts and ideas for relating. So, what perhaps a realm of what just is truly is justice for all, going beyond the current cultural conditioning of punishing those we feel have done wrong. A justice system was originally founded on the ideal of creating a place to heal and right the wrongs. Now, justice is a way to just punish people, including jail, and ultimately that can result in a death penalty for the more intense crimes out there. These stars represent the weighing of the heart with the mind, where ideally the importance of the heart and mind are in equal balance, and true justice is a natural way of being. So, what this kind of gets into more spiritual, philosophical questions, and what is a reflection of our society? Is it just a hard punishment based on current laws, or do we actually weigh the situation more in layers and using discretion, and what are we doing here? And are we just going to be exiling people into prisons, and then never to be seen again, or like what's currently one of the challenges the United States is facing right now, in what the current administration is doing. But what is the legal system here? What reparations can a person make, and or what does it all boil down to? So this could be this full moon as an example of highlighting this information for all of us, and showing us what we come into, like, what is justice? How do we stand up for it with all the astrological energy that's in Aries? Venus will be moving into Aries on April 30th, and Saturn will be moving into Aries on May 24th, and Neptune's already in Aries. Mercury at the day of this recording is also in Aries as well. So, like, what is that? What does all that mean? And so, this Aries fights for justice, and fights for what is right, but it's up to the culture to define, like, what are the rules, what are the guidelines, what are the laws. Anyway, I could carry on with that, but Kayla, what are your thoughts
That's
on all of
also
that?
good. I love it. Yeah, because it's like, do we need to rethink all that? I Maybe that's what we're being asked to do right now, is rethink all that, and where does it come into balance? And that's the whole point. It feels like it's kind of way out of balance right now, and
Yeah.
and maybe it has been for quite a long time. So what's our opportunity with that? And how do we step into a new reality, I guess, ultimately, like go through that between place, go through that with this full moon spotlighting all of these things. It's very exciting to think about what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. All
So we're
right.
going to end this with one of my favorite quotes from the book, The Time Falling Bodies Take to Light by William Irwin Thompson. And I came across this quote many years ago, and I feel like it just so sums up the whole. We talked about the edge walking, we've talked about the aligning our will with divine will, and doing no harm. That's like we can have desire. Desire's fine as long as it's not hurting anybody else, and so on. But also because we're just on the edge of something so like such profound changes happening so fast right now. So what is that? So this is how he speaks into that. And he says, edges are important because they define a limitation in order to deliver us from it. Love that. In order to
Mm.
deliver us from it. When we come to an edge, we come to a frontier that tells us that we are now about to become more than we've ever been before. This is the good news. As long as one operates in the middle of things, one can never really know the nature of the medium in which one moves. So we need to be on the edges of what has been and what is becoming, and be willing to show up. And even if it scares us, because it's probably scary as hell, but this is our opportunity. And I think in being with the Scorpio full moon, with this intention of being willing to walk the edges of what has been and moving into what is becoming, it's a powerful, powerful full moon as a result.
Mm. That is a beautiful quote. Thank you for bringing that into the full moon sharing here.
Yeah. So we hope that everybody has a fabulously magical, amazing, powerful, maybe even ecstatically blissful time with the Scorpio full moon. And we'll see you for the next full moon.
Yes, Sagittarius. So thank you all. Have a happy full moon and be well, everyone.
Bye.